Daddy McTimoney.
Josh CKU.
Mahnaz BCC.
Herne UJ.
Anthony Macquarie.
Holly NZCC Proxy CPA.
Anthony SCUHS.
Charlotte IFAC.
Mathieu UQTR.
Shadi CMCC.
Rick Unevit.
Eva Life West.
Mike, Life University.
Pilar MCC.
Nadine Murdoch.
Lorenzo Wayok.
PHSU.
Maynard DUT.
Christy Sherman.
Iva ACC.
Okay, so now that we're in Robert's Rules, we're going to actually ask to get out of them. Let me explain a little bit. First, we as the Board of Directors want to apologize. We brought these bylaws changes to you fairly last minute. We only finalized them rather recently, but instead of sending them out like we could have, we decided to make a presentation. Our intention was so they would be less confusing, but instead some people are feeling a little anxiety and a little pressure because of what we've chosen to do. We apologize for that. We would like, because we want everything sent out more ahead of time. So we've had a request from a few of the chapters to have a discussion on the floor about the bylaws. Not about the nitty-gritty, not about making amendments, but about what you would like to do with them overall. What we would like to suggest is we would leave Robert's Rules and have a closed session discussion. The Board of Directors would leave the room so that the chapters could have a discussion. In order to keep things organized, we would like to recommend that one of our alumni, Ali Schwartz, who is still here, chair the discussion. Since it is a closed discussion, technically alumni wouldn't be here, so we would like to ask if there would be any objections to Ali being the chair. We chose Ali because she has extensive history working in the organization, with the bylaws, with everybody involved. So this one isn't about the amendments, because it's just like we did with the BCC proposal, where we discussed whether or not we even wanted to read the proposal. This is a similar idea. This is for you to say, we did not have enough time, we would rather not discuss this year. Or to say, we're okay with discussing it on the floor this year, and there's another option that will be discussed as well. But once again, is there any objections to Ali Schwartz chairing the meeting? Okay, could I get a motion to suspend Robert's Rules?
Josh CKU motion to suspend Robert's Rules.
Seconds.
All in favor, raise your hand.
I'm sorry, who seconded? Life West.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Hands down, all opposed, and all abstaining. Okay, we have suspended Robert's Rules. We will ask Ali to come to the front, and the board will leave the room. You guys can take essentially as long as you need. Please don't go extremely long if you all seem to be in agreement on something, because we do have more proposals in the CMCC consensus statement that we would like to begin today if there's time. But if not, there is some room for us to shift those into a later day. Yeah, we'll see. You guys are the best judge of time on this one. You'll know how the conversation's going, so.
Can we have the back door? Oh, yeah, could one of you guys get? Okay, so as the BOD mentioned, with the bylaws and stuff, I seemed to be talking to a lot of people that weren't quite sure really what was going on, and especially with many new faces. This is something that we really need to do and do it properly the first time, so it doesn't keep coming back and back and back, because your heart sinks every time it does. So what we're going to be discussing, we're not actually going to be discussing the actual amendments that the BOD is proposing. We are going to be discussing how these are going to be implemented. So a little bit of background, in 2014 in Malaga. Oh, that's right. In 2014 in Malaga, a proposal very similar to what the BOD are discussing was brought to Congress by BCC, UJ, NZCC and Life West. It didn't hit the floor because at the time we didn't feel it's best served Congress to discuss what was going on. So I've just completely lost my train of thought. So with discussions, and especially with some of the older delegates, there was a little bit of uncertainty whether a recommendation like this can come from the board. Does it need to come from a proposal? Does it need to go through the SOPs committee? All this little nitty-gritty stuff that by law we have to do it properly, or else a couple of years' time someone might go, this is actually illegal what you've been doing. So we wanted to make sure, like I said, with so many new people, that we do this right the first time. Okay? And it being a closed session and it's discussion, it's a chance for you guys to really understand what's happening. Because I think as a new delegate and at a first Congress, it's very tempting just to go, and you're thinking, I've got no freaking idea what you're talking about. Huh? Okay. So I'm just going to be facilitating the conversation essentially. And again, thank you for letting me allowing me to do that, because it's technically breaking a couple of rules, but whatevs. Pardon? Okay, so like I said, we're talking about how we're going to do this. So we have a couple of options, and if you guys come up with more options, then that's great. So the first one is what the BOD is suggesting. And they, recommendations, we voted in, done. It's in our bylaws. And then if we want to change it, we're going to have to do this all again. I spent 2 out of 2 congresses and it was all on bylaws, so I know how hard and how heavy and boring it is. So we're trying to save you that heartache. Especially the hard bit, right? The other way we could do that is a joint proposal from 4 schools that represented the 4 regions. So then it is a Congress-wide, it represents, everybody, all the regions. Obviously discussions within the regions themselves on the regional calls. The other way that we can do it is make temporary time-stipulated addendum to the bylaws. So in line with the Canada corporations, yep. I'm a fluffy, I'm not a nitty-gritty. So what this means is that we can actually say we want to take the recommendations that the board is suggesting, but put a time frame on it. Because I think talking to everybody, we're in agreement that we need these sort of changes, but the actual changes we need to the bylaws, we got the feeling that people needed a bit of time, because it's a lot to process, and especially as if English is not your first language, like legal language is a pain in the ass. I'm so glad this isn't being recorded. Okay, so back to that addendum thing. So what it would be, it'd be essentially a copy and paste, and we go, we're using this. Do you want to just talk about? Okay, so we put a date. So we would say we're going to implement this until the August AGM. So it's almost like a trial period for our bylaws to see if it works. As Manaz said, it's like a post-it note that you put on a calendar. So when it comes to Congress next year, we can take off the post-it note, we can make the changes, but it sort of gives us the changes that we, the organisation may need, without locking anything into Corporations Canada, because when you make changes, you have to submit it and rah, 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 rah. Was that it? So yeah, now it's just a discussion. How do you guys want to go about this, and are there any other options that we haven't considered?
Could I suggest taking 2 minutes to just discuss the chapters?
Totes. Let's go 5 minutes.
Guys, sorry, before you go 5 minutes, if you have any questions regarding the actual legality or the exact workings of a time-stipulated addendum to bylaws, hi, find me.
Vanessa? Do you mind?
Hi. It's like 5 people at once. Would it be, guys, sorry, would it be easier if I presented it to you very clearly and concisely and then we discuss? Would that be better for everybody?
Yes,
or?
please. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. So, a little bit about me and why I'm sort of not spearheading, but I'm kind of taking the lead on presenting this. I used to be a corporate finance investment banker. So dealing with this kind of stuff was my bread and butter for 6 years. Mergers, acquisitions, bylaws, etc., etc., etc. So we looked into the Corporations Canada laws. So the WCCS is registered with the Government of Canada as a corporation. It is a not-for-profit corporation, and as such has to adhere to the not-for-profit laws as stipulated by the Canada sort of economic laws. In bylaws, how it basically works is, like I said the other day, bylaws tend to be sort of the rules by which your organization operates, right? And SOPs is how you apply the rules. To make a change as big as this, i.e. to in effect restructure this entire corporation by introducing a new strata, if I'm going too fast, by the way, language cards work, I can stop. But to introduce an entirely new strata of officers, i.e. board of directors, then you have regional coordinators, and then you have individual chapters with their own specific hierarchy, is a monumental change, right? Not to scare anybody, but it's something that needs to be done with correct due process and in a correct manner, so that in 2 years' time, if I'm not here, or Ali's not here, or our BOD is completely different, and everybody sitting on the floor is different, nobody can stand up and say, oi, oi, this is completely illegal, and our entire organization crumbles, because that is not something that we want. Having said that, the change is good. It takes pressure off the BOD, it's fabulous. So what we sort of came up with as an idea, instead of changing the bylaws, which in effect, for those of you that are religious, forgive me, it's the Bible, right? Instead of adding things into the Bible and then taking them out, you put a little post-it in the back that says, for a period of time, i.e. from the day that this is voted, and for us it would be the ending would be a particular date, and it must be a fixed date, at some point in the next Congress, for this period, these additions, amendments, changes, etc. are as forgive me for those who are religious, the word of God. And at this date, when this date passes, the bylaws revert to what they are right now, without the changes. It gives us 15 months to work out, do we like the changes? Do we want to change the way they're voted? Do we want to figure out if we can make them better, etc., etc. Now, to do that, we have two options, as Ali said. One would be to add a proposal to the floor, submitted by, as was originally written, BCC, UJ, NZCC, and Life West. This would give every single one of you an opportunity in your regional meetings to contribute your thoughts to the changing of these bylaws, which would then be written by us as we, these four colleges, propose to the World Congress of Chiropractics that Amendment 3.2.1 is, boom, 3.3. Whatever, boom, 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 boom. And then we vote on them because we've all decided on them together. The other option to do it is to defer it to SOPs and the board of directors. So that would mean that you would have very little input because technically as a legal document, not everybody in the corporation is allowed to touch them. That's why we have an elected SOPs committee. It means that you have to choose people whose job it is to handle these documents. Because imagine if 120 people all started fiddling with one document, what would end up? Alphabet soup. The time-stipulated addendum would then be pretty much exactly what the BOD has presented, with whatever amendments or disagreements that you have that we would have in this discussion right now, as a
No,
little
no,
fact
no, no,
note, post
no,
it.
no. We're not discussing the actual changes. We're discussing how does Congress want to implement it.
But the concerns that we have would be factored in, obviously, no?
I don't think so. I think that they've got time later to talk about the actual changes going with what we're doing here. It's just how do you guys want to go about implementing the changes?
Fine. So we'd in effect have a 15-month trial period between the voting date, this Congress, until a specified date next Congress, which will be held in San Francisco, to decide if we like this, does it work, are we happy, do we want to change it, do we want to make it different, etc., etc. Does that clarify it for everybody? Right, here we go.
Okay.
Go forth and discuss.
It's discussion, so raise your hand. Oh, no, 5-minute discussion, that's right.
Sorry, guys, if anybody... Hadi, go.
We're also not limited to these three options. If anyone else
Yeah.
has got a better option, please bring it forth.
This is the whole point of this, is to discuss and figure out the best way to do it. Guys, does anybody need me to come over to a chapter and further? Oh, okay, DUT.
Five minutes is up. Do you guys need more time? We'll go another 5 minutes. 5 more minutes.
going to do a
Yeah. Guys, just quickly, we seem to be getting a lot of the same questions. Would it be better if we do a Q&A? Yeah? Okay. Who's going first? Question.
Hi, Chris McTimney. My question's quite straightforward, really.
Sorry.
How...
Sorry, 1 second. Guys, can I get Westpac, UJ, and Life West up here? Because this is a joint proposal if it goes, so I would like all of you to put... Brandon? Sergeant at Arms.
Sergeant at Arms breaking shit.
You can ask questions to any one of us four, by the way. I have the legal, but the idea was in joint effort, so... Pick your person and...
Okay, it's to anyone. Again, simplify this for me a little bit. Everybody, apart from me, is going for 15 months. I'm saying that I would like to see the SOPs, but what are the disadvantages?
If you guys, so all of you have three options. You say yes as it is, you say addendum with proposal, or you say no. If you say addendum with proposal, you get input. If you say no, you get no input. If you say yes, you get no input. If this goes to SOPs, which is what will happen if you say no, then if you decide to re-elect me to SOPs committee, it will be myself and the fellow committee members that will handle the changes. And you will have no option to say anything about whether or not you agree or disagree until it gets to the floor, which then means we're in Robert's rules, you're making a point, someone else is disagreeing, etc. It just slows the whole thing down and just takes up Congress time unnecessarily. So we encourage you to say addendum and proposal, but it's the decision of Congress.
Okay, thanks.
The addendum has to go with the proposal from the four regions. It can't just go...
Because if... No, go.
So,
Salute!
Okay, I like to think of things quite simply. So the way that I think of it is if we do the addendum, what that basically means is that for the next 15 months, we will have a trial period where we are able to utilize the idea and the positive aspects that can come from what the Board of Directors suggested with the bylaw changes. So for the next 15 months, we go with those changes. That gives us 15 months as well to make sure that those changes are exactly as they need to be for it to work permanently for the organisation and for it to be, you know, the best possible way for it to be organised. If we were to not do that, that would mean that either it would take up the rest of Congress, in which case it may still not be perfect, and then if that was to go through and in the future we were to see that there was something in that bylaws that could have been better or would work better otherwise, it would mean having to do the entire workload all over again. Whereas with the addendum, it's sort of like a win-win situation where we can make the most of the awesome idea and the BOD's work and all the positive changes that can come from these change in bylaws, yet at the same time have the time to make sure that when that is permanently put into the bylaws that it is perfect and it is exactly as it needs to be lasting, so that we don't have to do extra work and hopefully ever change it again. If that makes more sense. Like, I just thought that the addendum...
Sorry, could you speak into something? I can't really hear you.
Sorry, I just thought that the addendum could be just added to the way that the BOD presented it. I didn't realize that it had to then go along with the proposal from the four regions. That's all I was asking. Thank you.
can I just quickly add? So what we envisioned when this idea came up was that, yes, this proposal is coming from the four regions, but it gives you guys all a chance in your regional calls to discuss it. So next Congress, like for instance, if this does go through, next Congress, the proposal is written, it's read, it's seconded, it's passed. Done. Squash that shit.
I just want to preface this by saying that Life West, we unanimously support the addendum with proposal. Our only question is, do we see any foreseeable cons, like major cons in this process at all? Question for anyone.
Inability to reach consensus.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Inability to reach consensus. By involving so many different chapters and having everybody with input, there is a risk that, say, you know, the 8 schools of Europe wouldn't all agree that it would have to be, again, majority vote by region. But we're all grown-ups, you know.
Is the proposal definitely in for next AGM?
It will be if you vote yes.
That's why we had this discussion. What do you guys want to do? Do you want, yeah, it can be.
Is the proposal already written?
We have the skeleton of it.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just wondering, at the end of the 15-month trial period for the addendum, will the individual chapters, I guess if we do decide to go that way, will they be able to have a say in how this worked, like the assessment of these regional coordinators and if it was actually a useful thing?
So the plan was that our 4 schools spearhead it, but we wanted to be in every region. So as a result, when we have our regional meetings, that all the schools have a say in what's going into the bylaws and into that proposal for the next AGM. Answer your question? Not really.
I guess would be more like the interaction that the chapters had with these regional coordinators. We would be able to say, yes, we got really good support from them. They gave us some great ideas. You know, their purpose in being there wasn't suited to our needs, and we would be able to have that feedback at the end of the 15-month, whether we're going to put the sticky note in or
Yeah. What would happen in San Fran would be that it would be presented like any other proposal and it would be voted on like any other proposal. So if in San Francisco you felt like having a regional coordinator has done absolutely nothing for you, for whatever reason, then you have that option to not vote for the proposal to make a permanent bylaw change, I guess.
Sorry, just to really add to that, with the voting of this particular kind of a proposal, it would be a special, like at the normal proposals are 50% majority vote. Because this affects the bylaws, you'd have to have a 66% majority for it to pass. So the rules of the way the votes were counted would be different, but in effect, yes, it would be the same as a proposal.
And in regard, wow, it works. In regard to wanting to give us feedback, yes, some of us would be spearheading it, and also you would have your input when we do bring up the proposal at the next year. However, I think a lot of our intention is that we would be like spreading this around. You can be giving us feedback as it's happening throughout the year, so that you should hopefully, if this gets passed, you'll be taking notes. What's been working with your regional coordinators? What hasn't been working with them? What could be improved upon? And taking those notes, you can give it to us as we're as we're refining this proposal, so that once it gets here, theoretically, it should all be have all your feedback into consideration, so that when we do bring it to Congress next year, it should already be like crystal clear and hopefully pass really simply and really quickly.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Do you think 15 months is enough time? And why did you choose 15 months? Have you got a kind of foreseeable timeline? No, I know it's a time between this meeting and the next meeting, but do you have a timeline of things that might happen? Because like you said, it's a big change. So to kind of instigate that change and have it as a trial that actually works. I mean, in terms of, just a side question, are there any implications for the way that the AGM would run in the bylaw, or is it just the regional coordinators?
No, just the regional coordinators.
Yeah, so there's no, so they haven't put any money aside for that either, right? In those bylaws.
No.
Yeah, so it's a big change which there's no money for. I'm just
Yeah.
asking a question.
Hang on.
They said
I
there's
think
gonna be no
this is more of a discussion for because we're just talking about how we're going to implement this. I think this is a bit of a discussion for, you know, the little bits around the proposed changes. So like, I know what you're talking about, but at the moment we just want to focus on how we're going to implement these changes, as opposed to what we're going to change, if that makes sense. So as far as your first question with the time, the problem is with congresses is that we don't always know when the one after is going to be. So it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, it could be another 18 months. Although I think it's in our rules that there has to be within every calendar year. So the timing of congresses, unfortunately, is a little bit of a factor in it. We felt, and so did the BOD, that 15 months is a good trial period, essentially.
And also, we have all the work that was done in 2014, and we also have all the work that has already been done by the BOD before they presented it at this AGM. So a huge amount of the work is already done. It's just a matter of dotting I's and crossing T's and being sure that that is exactly right, and having the time to read over it and make sure that there's not a better way to word something or to do something. So it's not like we'd be starting the whole process of rewriting the bylaw, that section of the bylaw from scratch. Pretty much all of it is already done, really.
Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, but I have another one. Can I just say it now?
We're in the same delegation. Can we discuss this, like, if you have,
What's
to save time, because we want to get to the discussion part as opposed to...
UJ?
Do you think the 15 months time period is enough to implement these changes, or would it you have to? Could you maybe increase those months, or is those 15 months, or could you increase it after those 15 months if you haven't seen any change?
So legally speaking, I'll answer that one. Legally speaking, with an addendum, because it's part of a legal set of bylaws, the date that you put, it's not something that you can change. All the options that we're trying to present to you have concreteness to them. This is not something that you could decide in 6 months you don't like and scrap. If we put it in the time stipulated addendum that this is the date upon which it will expire, that is the date upon which it will expire. And to violate that is a violation of the corporation's bylaws, which means that what we do is illegal. Which is why if we decide to do addendum, we need to choose a date. So the 12th of August, or whatever the date is, it needs to be that day.
We could then put another addendum in after that date.
You could keep going forever with addendums. The idea is just to give us time.
Yeah, in case they really, really want more time, we could do that.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yep. Yep.
So we've got ACC.
Hang on.
I have a question, actually.
Sorry.
First,
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Oh, he's ACC, sorry, you're standing with light, just like, I'm sorry.
I needed to be seen. So I'm borrowing the mic, that's right. There is two questions, actually. The first one is like, will we be able, if we accept the proposal for a limited time of 15 months, will we be able to experiment the new voting system during this AGM? The whole point to accept it for a temporary period, like 15 months, is to experiment it, right? So, including the voting system of the regional directors?
What we did on Wednesday.
It would depend on the discussion that you guys have on Wednesday about that. So, if, for instance, you do decide to go with the amendment and I can't pronounce that word, addendum.
Addendum.
Yeah, no. That thing. And the proposal, then obviously you guys would discuss that, the voting and all that sort of stuff on Wednesday.
Okay, so yeah, that was if it's in the state where it is currently. Anyway, we'll be able to experiment it after. The other question is like.
Norris.
How long time is to? I think it would be interesting to know, like, how long time did it take to come out with the new proposal, with the new suggestion? What is the amount of work you guys did to present it? That's interesting for me. It's just like if we need to rework everything out. Like we need to measure it somehow. It would be great.
It was a lot of work. We had to go through the bylaws. We had to also look at Corporations Canada, so our language wasn't illegal. We then had to agree on it, and is this does this serve WCCS the way that it's written? Does it not? How can we improve it? It was a lot of work, honestly. So that's why, 15 months is a great time to write that, and it makes it. Because what happened with the bylaws is there was a little bit of confusion, and then that's why all this stuff, a couple of years ago, there was a bylaw shitstorm, essentially, to put it nicely. But yeah, it was quite a lot of work to write this proposal. That's why we'd kind of narrow it down to 4 chapters right in it that represent the region, so you don't have too many fingers in the apple pie.
Wouldn't it be audacious then to think about rewriting it again? To do things again? Maybe too audacious?
The proposal? Oh, it definitely needs to be rewritten. What it is that we have the skeleton of how to write it, if that makes sense. We're not saying that to use the proposal from Malaga, because it's got different suggestions to what the BOD is suggesting. But what we are suggesting is that you use this proposal and how it's written as a skeleton for the changes that you guys want to implement.
Think of it as a template.
Or a guideline.
Sorry.
So if we go forward with this addendum, it's your fault. No. So if we go forth with this, are we looking to these 4 people as far as really keeping track of how well it's working, and if we're having issues as a chapter, we should report to them? Or
Guys?
I'm worried, I don't want it to
I'm sorry, could you start again? I was slightly distracted.
I said, if we do go forth with the addendum, if we're having issues in our chapters the way it's working, are we going to you guys as far as fixing things, or because the one thing I don't want to have happen is a year from now, nothing's changed in the bylaws and stuff like that, and then we're still sitting at square zero.
Okay, I think there's still a little bit of confusion about the actual reasoning behind this.
Yeah.
Forget it. Okay, just clear your minds, close your eyes, take a deep breath. Stand up, have a stretch. Come on, guys, everyone, shake it out. It's in the rules. Straighten up, America.
I've actually forgotten.
No choice.
Yeah.
Are your arms long enough?
Okay, guys. Okay, so.
Oi! Oi, oi, oi. Okay. All right, so the purpose of today's discussion was how. Not what, not why, how. Okay? So I feel we're getting a little bit off track, okay? Because it'd be really nice to wrap this up as quickly as possible too.
I want to answer his question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. The bylaws as they stand right now, forget everything the BOD told you, right? About how we're going to change them, strike through, in red, blah, blah, blah. Ignore it. The bylaws that are on the WCCS members only section of the website will remain as they are. All we are doing is removing the changes from the bylaw documents, adding them to a separate document, and stapling that document to the end of the bylaws. That staple has a stipulation of 15 months. After 15 months, the staple comes out, and that little bit at the end gets discarded in its entirety and is replaced with a proposal that pretty much will say exactly the same thing, including all of your feedback, i.e. the voting, the regional coordinators, how it works, blah, blah, blah.
I misspoke.
I understand what you're asking. So if you're having a problem with this trial period, right? That's what you're asking. So during this trial period, if you guys are experiencing difficulties with your regional coordinator, I mean, typically I would suggest that you try and work it out just like any person would. Try and work with your coordinator as best you can, figure things out. Should that not work, reach to your board of directors because that's their superior. However, you should be taking note what's working and what's not working, and you can let us know about it, or just taking note, because once we come back to it, that input will be valuable to have that final proposal. Does that make sense? Yeah?
So if we're having legitimate issues with even the way it's written in the addendum or whatever, it should go to you so it can be added to the proposal.
Correct.
Jess?
UJ had a question.
Oh, sorry. UJ.
I think what's happening is we get to make the best out of both worlds here. We have an amazing opportunity to trial a proposal before we get to vote on it, and how often does that actually happen? So that was just all I had to say.
Right, so in regards with the question from LiveView, in determining if this will work, wouldn't you need feedback from each regional director as well as the rest of the BOD?
Yep. And also, this has never happened before. So you guys are part of WCCS history. Like Jess said, trialing a proposal before it's implemented. But I think we do need to wrap it up as far as the how, okay? So we're going to go, everybody comfortable with how this is going to happen and how you want it to happen, not what, how. Everybody good?
We understand there are three options.
Okay,
Yes.
so first option, yes, as is. Second option, no, we hate it. Third option is addendum and proposal. Okay?
On Wednesday, you will have a choice to vote these three ways.
No. So this is going to be a discussion. So what's going to happen is that on Wednesday, you guys will have to put forward a motion to however the how is going to happen. That was worded really badly, sorry. Okay? This is just a discussion. This is just to get a consensus so that when it comes time to figure out how you're going to implement whatever, you already know how. Okay? Clear? Crystal? So now we need just show of hands. Okay, so who's voting no? Leave it as it is. Okay. Who's voting yes?
This is your choice, guys. Hey, there's no pressure from anybody or anything. It's just a suggestion. You want to vote no, vote no. You want to vote yes, vote yes.
Who wants addendum? Shit. The time stipulated thing with proposal. This is anybody, it's not just people, this is everybody, this is open discussion. Okay, hands down, hand down. Okay, sorry, I didn't make that clear. So this is room wide, not just people at the front. Okay, so who's voting no? Good. Who's voting yes? Okay. Who is voting time stipulated thing with proposal?
Time stipulated thing. You insult my words.
Okay, great. Awesome. So we've got the how, okay? So on Wednesday, there will need to be a motion to have the time stipulated thing with the proposal. Done.
Thank you guys
Well
for
done.
clearing that up.
So if it's a trial period, are we actually going to elect some regional consider whatever you call
regional
it?
coordinators you will.
Is it going to be voted on Wednesday as well? Or when is it?
That's with the main election.
You guys will be discussing the what and the why. We've just decided the how.
So there will be.
On Wednesday, yeah.
So there will be discussion about what you guys are wanting to bring in. What we just decided is how.
Sorry, can I just borrow this for a second? Okay, so how it's going to work from here, seeing as everybody's pretty much on the same page now, is on Wednesday, when an opportunity comes up in Robert's Rules on the floor,
When the SOPs come up and the bylaw changes come up for voting, if you choose to accept the SOPs, that's obviously a completely separate issue. With the bylaws, somebody will make a motion to say that Congress would like to put these changes into a time-stipulated addendum, and then we vote. And if it's unanimous, then that's how we proceed. So what will in effect happen is the bylaws will revert to what they are on the website now. All the changes will get put onto a piece of paper. That piece of paper gets stapled to the end of the bylaws until the date. And then we begin working on the proposal. And the work for the proposal, please, will begin after Congress.
Thank you, guys. Much love. Amazing.
Kata ACC.
All right. So what we're going to do for the rest of the afternoon / evening, today we go until 6. So we have, that's it? Oh yeah, today we do end early, so we end at 6. So we only have a half an hour. We will go ahead and do the, sorry guys. I thought we ended at 7 like normal. We're going to start with the CMC consensus statement proposal, presentation.
Would the
And
board
then
please recognize PH?
If we have time after that, then we'll have Brandon's AGM presentation recognized. Oh yeah, sorry. So WIOC had originally asked us to talk about the proposal this morning, but then they asked us not to, which is why we didn't do it this morning. So we'll talk about it in 2 days' time when Eileen is here.
Hey guys, I'm Oscar if you guys don't know me yet. So this presentation got a little longer this morning once we had that discussion. So I know there's a lot of new delegates. This proposal was from 2 years ago. So if you're a new delegate last year, you also aren't very familiar with this proposal. So I'm going to start by kind of explaining it to you, what the proposal is all about and how it works. So first, as a WCS as an organization, before this proposal, we didn't have a way to say, like, we all say chiropractic's great, but we all have different ways of defining chiropractic. We didn't have one said that WCS thinks this and that's official. So a consensus statement is our official stance on something. So what we propose is something called the Delphi process. The Delphi process would work in multiple rounds, and it works like this. So we come up, CMCC, this is a pilot project that's supposed to be voted on this year, whether we're gonna adopt this as our official process of coming out with consensus statements. So the pilot project went like this. CMCC came up with a statement, and we selected, when it first was proposed, we said it was about 12 members, 12 schools that sent a member forward, and then we said, the first one was a WCCS supports community service. And at the time, the vote, in order for it to pass, had to be unanimous -2. So what that means is if 3 people said, no, WCS does not support community service, then it would go through a different round. So then that question would come to you and you would say, yes, we support it, or yes, we support it, but no, we don't support it, but we want to change this. So you could change, we support community service, but only that includes helping out the less fortunate. So we take all the responses into account and we make a new statement. It's called round 2. In round 2, we bring it back with taking all the suggestions into account, and then we send it out again. And then unanimous -2 comes back. If there's only 2 of you, 2 people that said no, it goes through. That's the way it was set. If it doesn't, then it goes to another round with a maximum of 4 rounds. If we can't get it in 4 rounds, it's probably not going to happen. That was the way it was. However, in the proposal, it said that if we had to bring it back to Congress and it had to be voted whoa. Everyone had to vote on it and agree on it in Congress. Pulling an alley. So, despite what you guys might think of us at CMCC, we're not perfect. We found a flaw in it. So we thought about it. We're like, wait, if it's unanimous -2, 2 people disagreed on it. When we come to Congress, we're going to vote on it. The 2 people are still going to say no. So last year, we changed it that it has to be unanimous. So the charity one, it was unanimous -2, 2 people didn't reply. It went through. This is just a pilot project, so it didn't actually become our consensus statement. We didn't vote on it, so we thought, let's try it again. We made an amendment to the proposal, and we said, out of the 12 people saying it, everybody has to say it. It's unanimous. We're like, okay, so we went with, we thought it was going to be a little more challenging because the first time it went through the first round, we never really got to test the process. It just went through and there was only 1 round, that was it. It's pretty easy, so we thought adding in WCCS supports interprofessional relationships. So we thought that would stir up a little more of the pot and we'd go further into rounds. But then it turned out unanimous decision. It went through. I think a couple of people didn't reply, so we kind of abstaining. It went through. However, we thought there might be a little bit of a flaw with that because there's only 12 delegates, 12 people in it, and there's more than 12 schools. So because some schools didn't get it to begin with, they might object it here, and then we're back to square one. It doesn't go through. So before I keep going, do you guys understand the process? Feel free to ask any questions now before I keep going and lose some of you guys. Mike, is your hand up? Okay. All right, so we would like to make a couple amendments. So like I said, last year we changed it to this. I explained. This year we were asking for an extra year. Yes, so with the way the proposal is written is this Congress, we're supposed to present to you guys and we're supposed to vote on it. Due to the reasons I just explained, I think 1 more year would be beneficial for us to make an amendment so we present on it in San Francisco and you guys decide whether this is the way that we want to make a consensus statement. Right now, it is only CMCC putting out the statements because it was a proposal, it's a pilot project, it's not official. Once it becomes official, any chapter can start tossing out consensus statements. As long as they meet the rules, it's unanimous, everyone agrees on it, perfect, anybody can do it. It was kind of perfect that this morning we talked about something that was pretty controversial. We thought if we ask for this extra year and we make it about the document we were talking about this morning, there's going to be controversy. We figured what better way to test the process that's something real controversial, because we never got a chance to go through the rounds, see if it actually works. It just went through automatically. So that's kind of where we're at right now. The amendments, so this pretty much I've explained it. I don't really want to read it word for word. You guys are welcome to, but. So this is the extension I'm talking about. We do have a document that we can email you guys out if you want with the exact amendments that we're proposing for this proposal. But that's kind of the general idea of it. It is CMCC that will be putting out the proposal, the consensus statement, if it does get accepted and you guys want to extend it another year with this new set of rules. So not only are we adding another year, but we're changing it to every school must have a delegate giving back feedback. Because if we only have 12, one school didn't get it, they're going to object it here, like I said before. So every school must reply. We're thinking of giving about a month time period. We know there's exams for reply. We know there are exams. So we think a month is reasonable. Some people might say, you know what, some chapters aren't very good at reading their emails. But my thing is, if it's a controversial topic or something, if one chapter doesn't agree with it, odds are that 5 other chapters don't agree with it. So if we don't get a reply in a month, we're going to call it abstaining. We think a month is a reasonable time. Do you have a question?
Talia DUT, why not longer for something like that, like a survey? You'd give them much more time than that?
Because it's not as simple as just handing out a survey. We have to first contact the chair of the survey committee. They have to approve it. Survey Monkey. It's not as simple as that. We can work on the time frame, but a month is kind of where we're standing. And then we figure a month is, if you can't do it in a month, I don't see a reason. I mean, I don't think anybody's exams go for a month. We can talk about the timeline. Any other, yes, Life West?
John, Life West. Are there any schools that have breaks for longer than a month that wouldn't be able to meet in that month time frame to vote on the consensus statement?
There are schools, that includes us, but it's a yes or no that could be done through email. It's a yes or no. We say that yes, email, get back to your delegation. I know meeting is hard, but I mean the BOD and everyone meets through Skype. We don't. If we start giving more time, it's gonna be. It was kind of tight already, with simple only 12 people, and it was a simple consensus statement. Timing was tight just because getting hold of people before. The longest process was getting the survey out there. So if it takes us, let's say, up until May for some reason, and we give 4 months to reply, we're not gonna get it done by the next AGM. DUT.
Talia DUT. I think it's very much a thing of timing. So when you get it out, because we have lots of time towards the end of our year. So November, December, January, beginning of the new year, we have those 3 months off. So for us, that would be perfect. We would get back to you in like a week. But if you did it in May, we wouldn't get back to you very easily.
But the whole point of this is, right now, okay, that makes sense, just a pilot project. But the whole point of it is that in the future, any delegation could use it at any time. It's not just us right now. If you come up with something in September, or you don't have to wait till May, the whole point of, so like, we come up, it's efficient, we get it through. That makes sense right now, but going forward, it's just us doing it, but going forward, anybody could do it, and that just wouldn't make sense. BCC?
Mike, BCC. You said you had some of these documents that you could send out to us so we could have a look at. Do you also have a draft feedback form, like such as what you would do through SurveyMonkey? Has that been developed yet or not?
All the legalities are part of the proposal.
All the dilly-dallies?
What's that?
What did you say?
Legalities, all that.
Oh, legalities.
So we can email you guys the proposal that was passed in Malaga and the changes we're proposing to make. Because I just told you guys the changes we're proposing to make, but we can give you the official document, which is what we'll have to do, and we're gonna have to vote on it eventually. And that means every school has to put forward one delegate, so they can tell us what it is. And yes, there is a feedback for, like, if you say no, you do have a feedback box where you can tell us this is not. And any other questions? SDU?
PHSDU. Just going back for what DUT said before. If we are going to have regional coordinators, they could have a role in collecting these proposals.
That would be perfect, but we only found out about that. That's something that it's up to BOD and regional coordinators if they want to take that on.
Yeah, just an idea. So.
Yeah, that would be great.
Flo, COHS. So just for clarification purposes, we would be, or CMCC would draft a consensus statement about the SOFIC document.
Yes, we are welcome to, if you guys want to join us and write it. It's a sentence. We're not writing a page, it's a sentence. So if you guys want to write it, but at the end of the day, it's not going to pass if you say no. It has to be 100% yes. So if you don't like the sentence we write up, just say no and why.
Mark, CMCC. So just to clarify, as a first-time delegate, I was confused at the term survey. So it's not like a survey per se where it's 10, 20, 30 questions. It's one question, do you agree, yes or no? That's why we think a month is a very fair amount of time. And again, just going off that, if we made it longer than a month, let's say we wanted to make a consensus statement about the document we read this morning. If we made it more than a month, we risk not getting this consensus statement out for another like 16 months or 12 months or a long period of time. And at that point, there'll be new issues. And so we made it a month so that we can make a statement very quickly.
That's why I pay them the big bucks. Sarah just brought up a good point also with the month. Right now it's 2 weeks, so we're actually giving you guys more time. And the reason for that is, yeah, it can be 1 month, but that's one round. And then we give you another month for the other round. So if we give you 4 months, then we're waiting a whole year if it goes 3 rounds.
Talia DT, I didn't think it was a survey. I knew it was just a statement that we would either agree or disagree on. But the reason why I asked if we could have longer than a month was because it would obviously need to come through to each chapter and have the executive committee discuss it and then take it to the entire chapter to discuss and see whether the entire chapter agrees with it and then respond to CMCC. And that would only happen within a chapter meeting time, which would have to be called in advance. So for like in our bylaws, it would have to be 2 weeks in advance that we'd have to notify the chapter. So everything takes time, and I was just wondering if there was the time for us to have more than a month, but I get why now. Thank you.
Life West.
John, Life West, can we request 2 minutes to discuss this with our chapters?
For sure.
Just real quick, I was going to say something. This proposal was brought in, we did a consensus statement before. The WCCS has done precisely one consensus statement on the floor in Durban. We were asked what the student opinion on international mobility was. We spent about 45 minutes talking on the floor and unanimously approved a sentence, or it was 1 or 2 sentences. We immediately, because we were meeting in the same location as Federation of Chiropractic Licensing Boards, maybe? ICRC, thank you. And we took it there and we said the students of the world unanimously agree that we think our degrees should be portable and that it should be very easy for us to go to country from country once we're a chiropractor. Their response was, we're shocked, we're surprised, we didn't know you cared. We couldn't believe it. But unfortunately, that took 45 minutes of Congress time for one thing to pass. Because you had to get unanimous, you had to get the nitpicky details out of the way. This proposal is kind of a result of that. A proposal can be a very a consensus statement can be a very silly thing, or it could be a very profound thing when the students of the world unanimously say something. It's why we have this proposal.
And to add to that, like Derek said, it's an unanimous decision. If we don't all agree, it's not going to happen. Two minutes, sorry.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Well, we got to email them the changes so they can look at it and make a vote.
And just you guys both, we need a vote to extend this by 1 year, essentially?
Yeah. So it's part of the amendments that we're going to make to the proposal. Okay. We get an extension, so we forward on everything. Anything to add? Other than timing, did I mess anything up?
No, I think that's pretty clear.
So making a consensus is one sentence. It can be more sentences. Okay, but it's saying it's a statement. It's a bad. No. Because we were going to ask for you what was your most controversial. Oh, it just happened this morning. So it's on that document? Yeah. Well, that's what it can be on something. That's what we of like taking rewriting it into a
Just use the microphone. I can't.
Is this from the board? Is that from you? No?
I don't. Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes. We're going to send an email to all the heads of chapters. I'll announce in a second.
Heads of chapters or heads of?
Sorry, heads of schools.
Heads of school. I have to get back to you because I don't know the email address.
All right, 2 minutes are up. That's been 2 minutes.
It's in the bylaws. Like, ask Sarah if it's in the bylaws that you have to work for the AGM. Okay.
All right. Let's get moving.
Okay, guys. So another quick thing that the chapter just brought up. Right now, the proposal says that it passes through and it gets voted on here by you guys. We think that's a bit of a waste of time because it passed unanimously. Why are we voting again here? Like Mark said, each issues can change. We write this up, and that means we can't really bring it out till next year in San Francisco. That might not be relevant anymore. So I think the whole voting it here at Congress becomes obsolete. Mark, CMC.
Oscar, CMC. No, Mark, CMCC. So, and if we made that change where we didn't have to wait a full year to come to the next AGM, we could potentially increase the time of each round from a month to 6 weeks or something because we don't have to wait that extra time until the next AGM, if that makes sense.
One issue with that is that the panelists are an individual person that are responding to the survey. So if you want to change that, you'd have to change it to the chapters voting on it.
Again, that's open for discussion. Do you guys have any questions? Have you talked to your chapters?